What if the most unforgettable story about Can Yaman never came from a red carpet, a television interview, or a magazine headline, but from someone who quietly lived just a few meters away? For years, fans have followed Can Yaman's career through blockbuster television series, international projects, and countless public appearances. Cameras have captured his biggest professional moments, while social media has offered carefully selected glimpses into his daily life. Yet, as with many public figures, the moments that happen after the cameras are gone often become the ones people are most curious about. Recently, a story began circulating among fan communities after a woman who reportedly lived in the same neighborhood in Rome shared memories of seeing Can during his evenings. While these recollections have not been independently verified, they have sparked widespread discussion because of the emotional image they paint. According to the story, there was one habit that seemed almost impossible to ignore. She claimed that many evenings, after the city had started to quiet down, Can would spend time sitting alone on his balcony. There were no photographers, no interviews, and no public appearances, just long moments of silence above the streets of Rome. The woman described those evenings as surprisingly peaceful. Instead of the energetic personality audiences often associate with television interviews and promotional events, she remembered someone who appeared thoughtful, calm, and completely comfortable with silence. From her perspective, those quiet moments became part of the rhythm of the neighborhood. She explained that it wasn't unusual to notice the balcony lights turning on around sunset. Sometimes he reportedly remained outside only for a short while. Other evenings, according to her recollection, he stayed much longer, seemingly lost in thought while watching the city. One particular detail quickly became the center of online conversations. The neighbors suggested that, from where he often looked, his attention always seemed fixed in the same general direction. For some fans, that symbolic image immediately inspired emotional interpretations connected to Istanbul, a city that played a significant role in Can's personal life and the beginning of his acting career. Of course, nobody can truly know what another person is thinking while sitting quietly alone. Looking toward a particular direction does not necessarily reveal memories, emotions, or intentions. Nevertheless, stories like these often resonate because they allow people to imagine the private side of someone whose public life is constantly under observation. Fans across different countries began discussing what those evenings might have represented. Was he simply relaxing after demanding filming schedules? Was he reflecting on important career decisions? Or was he simply enjoying the peaceful atmosphere that Rome offers after sunset? Those questions remain unanswered, and perhaps they always will. What makes this story particularly fascinating is not whether every detail can be confirmed, but how ordinary it feels. Behind every international celebrity is still a person who experiences quiet evenings, personal reflections, and moments away from cameras. For someone whose career has taken him across multiple countries, balancing international productions and constant travel, those brief moments of solitude may have carried a completely different meaning than outsiders could ever understand. As the story continued spreading online, many longtime followers pointed out that Can has often spoken about appreciating moments of peace despite his demanding schedule. While he has never publicly described these alleged balcony evenings in Rome, fans naturally connected the neighbor's account with the calm, reflective side they believe they have occasionally seen during interviews. Whether those connections are accurate or simply personal interpretations remains impossible to determine. Still, the image itself is powerful. A successful actor, sitting quietly above one of Europe's most beautiful cities as another day comes to an end. And according to the woman who shared these memories, that scene repeated itself far more often than anyone outside the neighborhood ever realized. But what happened on one particular evening would later become the detail that captured everyone's attention, and according to those following the story, it completely changed the way many fans viewed those quiet nights in Rome. As conversations about the neighbor's memories spread across social media, one particular detail kept resurfacing in fan discussions. It wasn't about a dramatic event or a shocking revelation. Instead, people became fascinated by how consistent the routine reportedly seemed. According to the woman's recollection, the evenings followed a similar pattern. As daylight slowly disappeared over Rome, the balcony door would sometimes open, and Can would step outside carrying what appeared to be a cup of coffee or tea. There was no music playing loudly, no visible phone conversations, and no sign of large gatherings. The atmosphere, as she described it, felt surprisingly quiet. It was this simplicity that caught people's attention. Fans are often used to seeing celebrities surrounded by cameras, assistants, interviews, and glamorous events. The image of someone choosing silence over constant activity felt almost unexpected. Whether every detail of the story is accurate cannot be confirmed, but the picture it created encouraged many people to reflect on how different public and private life can be. The woman explained that she rarely saw anything that looked unusual. There were no emotional scenes or dramatic moments that would fit the headlines often associated with celebrity news. Instead, she remembered someone who appeared to appreciate routine. She described evenings where the actor would occasionally lean against the balcony railing, watching the lights of the city as traffic gradually became quieter. Sometimes he reportedly remained completely still for several minutes. To an outside observer, that might not seem remarkable. Yet those ordinary moments are often what neighbors remember most. Unlike fans who know celebrities through interviews or television appearances, neighbors usually notice everyday habits, the small routines repeated over weeks or months. Those routines often leave a stronger impression than any glamorous public event. As fan pages translated and shared the story into different languages, new interpretations quickly emerged. Some believed the balcony represented a personal escape after demanding workdays. Others imagined it was simply a comfortable place to relax before ending the evening. A few even suggested that people naturally create emotional meanings around quiet moments because silence invites imagination. That may explain why the story resonated with so many people. Without dramatic claims or sensational events, it painted a picture that felt believable precisely because it was so ordinary. The neighbor also reportedly mentioned that the evenings were rarely interrupted. There were no constant visitors or noticeable celebrations. From her perspective, the apartment often seemed peaceful, almost disconnected from the fast-paced entertainment world that surrounded Can's professional life. Of course, no outside observer can truly understand another person's private routine. A neighbor can only describe what was visible from a distance. Thoughts, emotions, and personal reasons remain known only to the individual experiencing them. That distinction is important, especially when stories begin circulating widely online. Still, fans continued discussing one question. Why did this simple routine leave such a lasting impression on someone who happened to live nearby? Perhaps because consistency makes people curious. When someone repeats the same quiet habit night after night, observers naturally begin wondering whether that routine holds personal meaning, or whether it is simply part of everyday life. Interestingly, longtime followers pointed out that Can has often appeared comfortable spending time alone between busy professional commitments. Over the years, interviews and behind-the-scenes footage have occasionally shown a calmer side that contrasts with the energetic image many viewers associate with his on-screen performances. That contrast made the neighbor's account feel even more compelling to many fans. It wasn't necessarily the idea of looking toward a distant horizon that captured attention. It was the possibility that, after days filled with filming, travel, interviews, and public appearances, someone whose life is constantly watched by millions might value something as simple as sitting quietly with their own thoughts. Sometimes, ordinary moments become memorable precisely because they are ordinary. And according to those who continued sharing the neighbor's story, there was one evening that stood out from all the others, not because of what Can reportedly did, but because of something unexpected that happened nearby. That moment would later become the part of the story fans discussed more than anything else. As more people discovered the neighbor's story, the conversation gradually shifted away from speculation and toward something more personal. Instead of asking whether every reported detail was literally true, many fans began discussing why such a simple routine had affected them so deeply. There is something universally familiar about watching the end of the day from a balcony. It doesn't matter whether someone lives in Rome, Istanbul, London, or New York. For many people, those quiet moments become an opportunity to disconnect from work, reflect on the day, or simply enjoy a few minutes without distractions. That may be one reason this story spread so quickly. The neighbor reportedly explained that nothing about those evenings seemed planned or intended to attract attention. In fact, she suggested the opposite, that the routine appeared so natural, it almost blended into everyday life. According to her recollection, there were evenings when the city seemed unusually calm. Streetlights reflected softly across the buildings. Conversations from nearby cafes became quieter, and the sounds of traffic gradually faded into the background. From her apartment, she occasionally noticed Can standing on the balcony without appearing to be in a hurry. Sometimes he would simply observe the skyline. Other times, he seemed to remain still, as though enjoying the silence itself. Again, no one can know what another person is thinking in moments like these. Any interpretation beyond what was visibly observed is simply speculation. Still, the image resonated because it reminded people that even internationally recognized actors experience ordinary evenings away from film sets and media events. As the story continued circulating, fans began sharing their own experiences online. Some wrote that they also spend time on their balconies after long work days. Others described looking toward places that reminded them of family, childhood, or important memories, not because they expected anything to happen, but because familiar views can offer a sense of comfort. In that way, the discussion became much bigger than one celebrity. It became a conversation about routine, nostalgia, and the quiet moments that many people rarely talk about. Several fan pages also highlighted another interesting point. Throughout his international career, Can Yaman has lived and worked in different countries, adapting to new cultures while maintaining connections with his roots. For public figures who spend significant time abroad, fans often wonder how they balance new opportunities with memories of home. Of course, only Can himself knows what those years in Rome truly meant to him. Everything else remains interpretation. Even so, the neighbor's account encouraged people to think about the difference between public success and private life. On screen, audiences see confidence, charisma, and carefully produced performances. Off-screen, every person, famous or not, still has ordinary habits that rarely become headlines. Ironically, those ordinary habits are often what leave the strongest impression. The neighbor reportedly said that, despite recognizing who he was, most residents respected his privacy. There was no constant attempt to interrupt his evenings or turn every day, moments into public spectacles. That mutual respect may explain why these memories surfaced only much later, rather than presenting dramatic claims. The woman simply described what she believed she had witnessed over time. Whether every memory is perfectly accurate is impossible to verify, but the calm tone of the account is one reason many readers found it believable. As the story continued spreading, another detail quietly emerged in online discussions. Some fans noticed that several photographs Can had shared during his years in Rome featured sunsets, city views, or peaceful outdoor settings. While there is no evidence connecting those images to the neighbor's recollections, the visual similarity encouraged even more conversation. People naturally enjoy connecting pieces of a story. Sometimes those connections are meaningful, sometimes they are simply coincidences. Either way, the discussion reminded everyone how easily ordinary moments can take on new significance when viewed through the lens of public curiosity. And according to fans who followed every new comment, one final reflection from the neighbor would soon become the most talked about part of the entire story. A remark that many described as surprisingly simple, yet impossible to forget. In the end, it wasn't a dramatic revelation that stayed with people. It wasn't a secret recording, an unexpected confession, or a sensational headline. Instead, what many fans remembered most was the quiet image created by the neighbor's story, an image that invited people to slow down and think about the difference between public fame and private life, according to the woman who shared her recollections. The evenings eventually became so familiar that they almost felt like part of the neighborhood itself. Seeing someone step onto a balcony as the sun disappeared behind the rooftops no longer seemed unusual. It simply became another small detail woven into everyday life. She reportedly said that there was something peaceful about those moments, not because anything extraordinary happened, but because nothing did. There were no flashing cameras, no interviews, no crowds waiting outside, just another evening in Rome. For many viewers, that image felt surprisingly powerful. Celebrities are often associated with non-stop schedules, luxury events, and constant attention. Stories that reveal ordinary routines can sometimes feel more relatable than any red carpet appearance. That may explain why this account spread so quickly across fan communities. People weren't necessarily searching for proof of a hidden mystery. They were searching for a reminder that even someone living an international career can still appreciate simple moments of silence. As discussions continued online, many fans shared thoughtful reactions. Some said the story reminded them of moving away from home and missing familiar places. Others wrote that they, too, enjoy ending the day by sitting quietly outside, reflecting on everything that happened before tomorrow begins. Whether those emotions had anything to do with Khan's own experience is impossible to know, and that's an important distinction. The neighbor described only what she believed she had observed. Everything beyond those observations belongs to personal interpretation. Still, stories like this often endure because they leave room for imagination without claiming certainty. Perhaps that's why so many people continue talking about it, rather than focusing on rumors or controversy. The conversation became centered on something universal, the quiet moments everyone experiences when no one else is watching. For public figures, those moments rarely become visible. When they do, even through someone else's memories, they can feel unexpectedly meaningful. Years from now, fans may not remember every interview, every award, or every headline from this period of Can Yaman's career, but many will probably remember the image created by this story. Balcony overlooking the evening skyline. The fading light of another Roman. Sunset, a few peaceful moments at the end of a busy day. Whether that scene happened exactly as remembered or has gradually become part of fan folklore is something only those who were truly there could ever know. What remains undeniable, however, is the way the story connected with thousands of people around the world. Sometimes, the smallest memories create the biggest conversations, not because they answer every question, but because they remind us that behind every public figure is a private life filled with ordinary moments that rarely make the headlines. And perhaps that is why this simple recollection from a neighbor continues to spark curiosity long after those quiet evenings in Rome came to an end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. What do you think those peaceful evenings on the balcony meant to Can Yaman? Your thoughts might be part of our next discussion.